Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a medical trial that honestly feels like it's straight out of a sci-fi novel. We're looking at a massive new effort to actually reverse severe hearing loss. But we're not talking about just any hearing loss here. We're talking about deafness caused by the very life-saving medicines meant to heal us in the first place. It's wild stuff.
So imagine this. You survive a severe, potentially fatal illness, only to realize the cure has literally stolen one of your most vital senses. Can the hearing you lost to medicine actually be restored? It's a devastating reality for so many patients, and it's exactly the puzzle researchers are trying to solve right now. For decades, the immense psychological toll of this was just accepted, It was brushed off as necessary collateral damage.
It's the hidden cost of curing illness. Think about that intense journey of fighting a life-threatening disease. You endure the treatments, you beat the odds, you finally hit remission. But as the disease fades, your sensory world quietly starts fading too. And the crazy thing is, the hearing loss isn't a symptom of the infection itself. No, it's a direct consequence of the powerful chemical therapeutics that saved your life. It's a pretty bitter irony of modern medicine, right?
Take tuberculosis, for example. We all know eradicating TB takes a punishing regimen of highly toxic, heavy-duty antimicrobials. To actually ensure survival, and of course to stop drug-resistant strains from popping up, patients have to take these aggressive medications every single day for 6 to 9 months. We're talking about a prolonged systemic bombardment. Your body is basically flooded with these compounds for the better part of a year. And yeah, they're super effective at destroying the pathogen, but they definitely don't discriminate when it comes to your healthy, fragile tissue.
So patients and doctors are essentially forced into this brutal trade-off: surviving the primary disease versus developing severe hearing loss from the medication's side effects. It's a total clinical tightrope walk. Survival is on one side of the scale, sure, but a lifetime of silence weighs really heavily on the other. For the longest time, the medical community just had to accept this bargain. I mean, preserving a patient's life obviously takes absolute precedence over preserving their hearing. But accepting that bargain means thousands of survivors are left trying to navigate a suddenly silent world.
To really get what's happening structurally, we have to look at the inner ear hair cells. As you likely already know, these microscopic sensory receptors are absolutely crucial for translating sound waves into neural signals for the brain. Well, when these powerful therapeutics circulate for months on end, they pool in the inner ear and essentially act like a potent toxin. They systematically attack and largely destroy this super fragile cellular architecture. Once those receptors are chemically burned away by the meds, the neural pathway just goes dark and the hearing is gone.
But, and this is where it gets exciting, the narrative is finally shifting. A research team led by Sticker is actually moving beyond the lab and jumping straight into a groundbreaking human trial. Their audacious goal? Physically regenerating that exact cellular damage. This is a massive, massive milestone in regenerative medicine. Moving from petri dishes to actual human applications means the underlying science of cellular restoration has finally reached a point of real, viable confidence. Now, to prove this actually works, they've set up some incredibly precise trial parameters. They're looking for exactly 45 human volunteers anywhere from 18 to 70 years old. But there is a huge, strict catch here. These patients absolutely must have severe hearing loss exclusively caused by medication side effects. In clinical trials of this magnitude, tightly controlling your variables is literally everything. By isolating the exact biological cause of the deafness, they can accurately measure if the cellular therapy is doing what it's supposed to do.
Which actually brings up a really counterintuitive question about their selection process. Why are the researchers only accepting patients with 100% hearing loss? Like, why not try to help those who just need a little boost to improve their quality of life, right?
Well, it basically comes down to the most foundational rule in medicine: do no harm. Because these trial treatments are highly experimental, complex biological manipulations deep inside the ear, they carry a massive risk of permanently destroying any residual hearing. So if they tested this on someone with, say, 30 or 50% of their hearing still intact, the invasive nature of the procedure could totally wipe out whatever fragile hearing they have left. Ethically, they have to start with patients who have absolutely nothing left to lose.
They are also strictly excluding folks with congenital deafness because structurally, it's a totally different ballgame. You see, medicine-induced deafness destroys the surface hair cells, but leaves the supportive muscle neurons completely intact. The regenerative therapy really needs that foundation to build upon. Congenital deafness, on the other hand, often means the patient lacks that internal structural support entirely. Without those underlying muscle neurons, the new lab-generated hair cells would have absolutely zero to anchor onto.
So what does this all mean? Well, if this incredibly precise trial succeeds,
We aren't just talking about a niche win for 45 people. We are looking at a true global beacon of hope that could fundamentally change post-illness recovery worldwide. This trial is the crucial proof of concept. If they can rebuild these microscopic structures in a few dozen patients, they lay the groundwork to roll this therapeutic approach out on an international scale.
In fact, researchers estimate that a trial's success could successfully restore hearing for 1 to 2% of the entire hearing-impaired population. Now, I know 1 or 2% might sound kind of small on paper, but when you apply that percentage to the massive demographic of people living with severe auditory impairment, the human scale is just absolutely staggering. We're talking about fundamentally altering the life trajectory of a huge cohort of survivors.
Let's put that into perspective. Zooming in on just the United States alone, that tiny percentage translates to roughly 7 million individuals. 7 million! Imagine 7 million Americans, plunged into silence by the aggressive drugs that save their lives, suddenly being given the chance to hear again. That is 7 million people getting back the ability to hear their families' voices and reconnect with a sensory world they probably thought was lost forever.
And when you expand that globally, the numbers are just unprecedented. The estimated worldwide impact is 20 to 30 times higher than the US impact. We are talking about hundreds of millions of people across the globe who could potentially be cured of medicine-induced deafness. The sheer volume of human lives that could be improved by this single medical breakthrough would rival some of the greatest public health victories of our modern era for sure.
All of this remarkable progress leaves us with a pretty thrilling question to ponder. As science finally learns how to reverse the side effects of our strongest, most aggressive medicines, what other lost senses or damaged tissues might targeted cell therapy be able to restore next? It really makes you wonder what the future holds.